The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fab, a segment of the Forever Fab podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of Fab is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of Fab, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion. Of course, I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add, expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. The title of today's episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast is Tracking Health, New Healthcare Trends. According to the site explodingtopics.com, quote, the U.S. healthcare industry is worth an estimated $2.83 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. As we all know, sometimes it works well and other times not so much. Today, I'll summarize the top 8 new healthcare trends for this year and into the next so that you can decide whether you want to schedule a doctor's appointment for a checkup. The first trend is seen in AI. AI is increasingly used by companies to help patients track their own symptoms. The technology is also being more and more used by healthcare providers who use it to help enhance decision-making and diagnostics. This is sometimes referred to as augmented intelligence. Now, the augmented intelligence is not meant to diagnose you or have the technology tell you what's going on with you, but rather it's supposed to be used as a complementary tool to help physicians maybe see things that they wouldn't have otherwise thought of, or just create connections to patterns that perhaps were not as obvious. So it's really just supposed to enhance your physician's functionality. The second trend is called personalized healthcare. And this allows for precision medicine, whereby dictionary.com defines precision medicine as, quote, medical care designed to optimize efficiency or therapeutic benefits for particular groups of patients, especially by using genetic or molecular profiling, end quote. Imagine that your healthcare is based on parameters that take into account your genetics as well as your epigenetics, such as lifestyle, behaviors, habits, etc. In this way, your outcomes may be improved to be way more successful. The third healthcare trend is wearable devices. Whether it's an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, we seem to like what we see. We seem to like the numbers that we see on these devices and what these numbers can tell us about our health on the go. I personally have an Oura Ring, and to be honest with you, every once in a while, when I look at the data, I'm intrigued. And of course, I think to myself, oh, yeah, I better improve upon that. But unfortunately, I'm just not consistent with tracking my data. So if there were a motivation app that went along with that Oura Ring, maybe it would be a little different. The fourth trend is virtual health. Telemedicine grew out of, well, it has been around for quite a long time, but it definitely exploded during the pandemic, and it's continuing to grow. This is primarily seen in the primary care specialties such as internal medicine and pediatrics, but procedures-oriented fields such as mine, plastic surgery, don't really lend themselves well to virtual health. I mean, nonetheless, for an initial consultation and for many non-surgical fields, it's an effective and convenient way to be seen without the inconvenience of an actual office visit. At some point, though, I think there has to be a physical visit. After all, it's the use of all five senses that help me or physicians to heal. The fifth new healthcare trend is attention to social determinants of health. I have spoken about the SDOHs, or the social determinants of health, on a previous podcast. There are a number of factors that contribute to a person's overall state of health and well-being. According to the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, these are, quote, conditions in the environment where people are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age that affect a wide range of health, functioning, and quality of life outcomes and risks, end quote. I add that these conditions may be divided into 5 broad categories. Number 1, economic stability. Number 2, educational access and quality. Number 3, healthcare access and quality. 4, neighborhood and built environment. And number 5, social and community context. The government agency also adds that, quote, social determinants of health have a major impact on people's health, well-being, and quality of life. Examples of social determinants of health include safe housing, transportation and neighborhoods, racism, discrimination and violence, education, job opportunities and income, access to nutritious food and physical activity opportunities, polluted air and water, language and literary skills. And SDOH also contributes to a wide variety of health disparities and inequities, end quote. I believe that society at large cannot be wholly healthy and well until every single individual is healthy and well. And it's going to take a lot of education, money, and motivation to reach that ideal. But at least there's awareness and an acknowledgement, and at least the path has been undertaken. The 6th new healthcare trend is prioritizing mental health. These past few years have seen a tremendous uptick in mental illness to the point where it itself is considered an epidemic. Now, types of mental health issues are wide and include, but are not limited to, anger, anxiety, bipolar disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, dissociation and dissociative disorders, eating disorders, hearing voices, hoarding, manic depression, seasonal affective disorder, loneliness, especially chronic loneliness, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic attacks, paranoia, personality disorders, phobias, postnatal depression and other perinatal mental health issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, premental dysphoric disorder, psychosis, recreational drugs, alcohol, and addiction, schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, sleep disorders. The list goes on. If you or anyone you know is suffering from any of these conditions, please seek help. The seventh new healthcare trend is that corporations are setting up direct-to-employer plans. Two examples of these are Amazon Care and Sam's Club. And finally, the eighth new healthcare trend is on-demand healthcare. It's a thing. So rather than universal care, companies are beginning to offer plans that allow patients to select medical coverage as needed and without being locked into a limited network of specific providers. Essentially, what these companies are looking to do is to find alternatives to the traditional health insurance model, which, in my opinion, needs a serious overhaul. And that sounds like a good plan to me. So there you have it, the 8 new healthcare trends for 2023 and 2024. Here's to your health. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast. As always, stay healthy, beautiful, and forever fabulous, inside and out. As always, if you love this episode of the Forever Fab podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Listen to past episodes or check out who's coming up next on foreverfabpodcast.com. If you enjoy listening to the Forever Fab podcast and you want more, get more audio and visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and maybe even private access to my clubhouse by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. If you're a founder or you represent a beauty brand and you want to be featured on an episode of the Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit foreverfabpodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, visit elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter or just give us a call. And for an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, beauty, and wellness questions on the go. That's click-lift.com. It's time for the elevated house call. Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve your appointment at jetsetbeautyrx.com. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode. Until next time, stay beautiful and fabulous, inside and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.